And we back. Setting up the camera a little bit. Alright, that's enough of that. Welcome to the Verbatim Live Show. This is a show where urban culture gets to have a conversation about the culture and be themselves while they do it, and you get to hear that conversation now, verbatim. This is now the second episode of the Verbatim Live Show, and let me say what's up to my people first. Hey, what's up, Fisticuffs? What's up, my man D? What's up, Erica? Damn, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, second episode of the Verbatim Live Show. And I gotta say, man, it's been a journey. I mean, shit, it's only episode 2. But there was a lot learned from episode 1. And, you know what I'm saying? I feel strong with episode 2. I got a very cool episode for you guys today. But before we get into it, I wanted to talk about something real quick that I just experienced like literally a couple minutes ago. You know what I'm saying? I was running around trying to get everything ready for the episode, and you know, nothing was going right. A lot of things were going fucking wrong. And I realized that, you know what I'm saying, that's how life is sometimes. Sometimes everything just doesn't go the way you want it to go. And, you know what I'm saying? And it can fucking get to you. And you can get really frustrated, and you can get, you know, just mental block. But I took a moment, I stepped back, and I realized that, you know what? I'm not doing this to make my life more stressful. I'm doing it because I enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? So if I can't enjoy the process, or to learn how to stop and just enjoy the process, then I'm doing something wrong. So, you know what I'm saying? I decided, you know what? Let me chill the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be what it's going to be. You know, I don't need perfect. Perfect is for insecure people. You know what I'm saying? I just need to get it done. And, you know, earlier today I was watching the Of Mics of Men, the Wu-Tang documentary. And in it, there was, I forget which episode it was, RZA was talking about his relationship with ODB. And he was saying that him and ODB were from the very beginning. That him and ODB were, you know, 2 kids looking up at the stars, dreaming about it all. You know, that's how it was, that they're from the very beginning. And then I just realized, like, for me, like, me doing this right now for you, the way it looks right now, that's me looking up at the stars, dreaming about it. Because make no mistake, success is coming. But it'll never be as simple as it is right now. It'll never be as cool and fun and relaxed as it is right now. It'll never be as wonderful to have my girl right next to me, my brother in the other room. As simple as that, like it is right now. You know what I'm saying? So I decided, you know what, fuck the stress, and I'm gonna just ride this, and I'm gonna enjoy this moment. Because, you know, tomorrow when everything changes, it may not be simple like this anymore. So that's the vibe we're going into episode 2, right? And episode 2 is the title of today's episode is Live Well, Rebel, a body positive fitness journey of badassery and motorcycles. And hold on. In my constant desire to showcase the diversity of urban culture, there's certain things that I always want to talk about. And in today's episode, I want to introduce the world into the diverse motorcycle culture of the New Jersey, New York area. It's really freaking cool. And I wanted to talk about body positivity, physical health, mental health, um, and then lastly, I wanted to talk about manhood, growing up as a man in urban culture, and with the potential for all the negative programming that can possibly have, and that it's possible to be a non-toxic man in urban culture without getting overwhelmed with all the political correctness. The term I learned while researching for this episode was nutric. A nutric means to help support and foster development. So maybe the term that I want to then coin is nutric masculinity. Yeah. And so my special guest today is someone I've literally grown up with. Someone I've personally seen go through all the trials and tribulations of life. And someone I've seen go through the highs and the lows. And someone I can attest to the genuineness in which they speak. And that person is now prepared to share a part of their journey and talk shop about fitness, men's fashion, and that very same motorcycle culture that I was talking about. And ladies and gentlemen, today's special guest is my very own older brother and the founder of Fisticuffs, Abe Cardona. Now let me get him in here. Hey, what's up, my brother? How you doing?
Hey, buddy, how are you? How is everyone tonight?
Everything, yo, I'm doing all right, man. Um, so I just introduced you to the fans listening, to the ones watching. Um, Actually, if you could just like adjust your camera a little bit so I can get you more in the frame.
You can see me better now?
Yeah, there we go. Can you
All
hear me
right.
okay?
Are you fine?
Okay, perfect, man. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what is fisticuffs.
Sure. Well, fisticuffs was an idea born a couple years ago, and essentially, fisticuffs is the amalgamation of different passions, covering topics such as motorcycling, body positivity, menswear, and wellness. And it essentially my idea around fisticuffs was that I was working in the motorcycle industry at the time, and I always found it interesting how where motorcycles, much like many other things, have a way of bringing different people from different walks of life into one particular hobby, into one particular joy. And then it'd be interesting to me at one point I'd be working with clients of mine that were firefighters just as easily as an hour later they were Wall Street brokers, just as much as they were school
Right.
teachers, just as much as they were plumbers. So it's something where, like in motorcycling, I found that in hobbies and finding things that you're passionate about, um, that is what's important in terms of when you get older, as you grow older in age, finding those tools of
Right.
expression for yourself. And for me, I found in motorcycling for me provided me to be the bravest version of myself. And I feel that at the heart of motorcycling, every motorcyclist feel this way. Whether you're male or female, you are the bravest version of yourself. Or also on top of that, you might have grown up into it. It's a part of your family heritage. It is something that a tradition that might have been passed on to you. And that's something that's unique in motorcycling because motorcycling in its nature, requires you to embrace a certain level of danger, certain level
Okay.
of risk. And I find that embracing of danger, I carry into my work life. I carry into when I write poetry. I carry into when I work out. And
Right.
motorcycling for me opened the doors for that.
Okay. So Well, just so they can get like a little bit of a contrast.
Sure.
How would you describe your life before motorcycles?
Timid, honestly. It's more so timid. I didn't realize that's what it was until I decided I was both timid and also discovering how many people were afraid for me.
Okay, speak on that. Actually, that's interesting.
Well,
When you say people were afraid for you.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. I've always been a heavier set guy, and
Okay.
it's something where being a heavier set guy on a motorcycle, um, one there's for haters because they were out there. You can't do that. There's taking that position that you can't do that, that you shouldn't be doing that. And even in myself, there's a bit of doubt in me doing it or me being capable of doing it.
Right.
And then I made the decision that I would much rather try to do this than to live a life based on the fears of myself and the fears from other people to discover later in life that this was meant for me all along. And
That's it. Yeah.
I find that particularly is a thing that holds a lot of people back with a lot of things. It's not just that it's fear from yourself for doing something, it's fear from other people, and having that fear kind of shroud over your intentions, only to find
Mm.
out that this is something you've always, you if it's something you want to do, that wanting to do will always linger until you satisfy the answer, whether this is meant for you or not.
Mm.
You know,
Okay, so
so
you say that's actually I find that very interesting when you're saying like people's fear for you um for a little while prevented you from making that leap to the point where you finally decided to take the leap for yourself just to discover that it was something that was always meant for you. I mean, do you feel like that happens a lot in the even outside of like motorcycles?
absolutely, absolutely. If you, I would say, if you think of the times where, if let's say you're a musician and then and there's a slippery slope with this, right? Where you put in the work, you put in the effort, and then society wants to tell you that there's no future in that.
Mm,
And that's something that's impressionable, whether they may be true or not. I think it's something that is a sin for adults to put their impressions onto young children that have the world of opportunity and time to figure that out for themselves, to put
right.
that into that box and crush their dreams before those dreams come to fruition. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that adults shouldn't be responsible. Adults should guide, but a guiding is different than crushing.
Right. Right. Okay, so then how do you correlate that with fisticuffs?
Well, fisticuffs, it came together for me where again, being a heavier set guy, I've always loved clothing, and now at one point working in the motorcycle industry, found out that I both love and work in an industry that wasn't catered to someone of my body type.
Okay.
When have you ever seen a heavier set motorcyclist on TV? When have you ever
Never. Right,
when
right. That's
when
not something you see.
when have you ever seen a heavier set motorcyclist in a movie?
Right. No, I
In
can't think of any right now. Yeah.
in a magazine?
Right. So I guess you're saying like, does that suggest that then heavier set people can't ride motorcycles or shouldn't? As like you said, people told you you shouldn't.
Well, here's the thing: if you ride in the community doesn't shun anyone. It's the industries that do, because the industry is just like any other industry, caters to what's sexy, what is attractive, and
Right.
that's not the reality. That's not the whole entirety of the people that enjoy the sport, that enjoy the activity. And it's something
Mm.
where I even with myself, there's there's this there's this saying in motorcycling where you call somebody that's brand new to motorcycling that doesn't ride any motorcycling gear, they call them a squid, meaning
Okay.
that it's like a motorcycling term where you call them that just because they don't know any better. They just want to ride around in t-shirts. They just
Got
want
you.
to just want to look cool for the girls, which I get it, or the girls looking cool for the guys, which I get it.
Right.
Meanwhile, having an entire apparel industry that makes clothes that fit them. So there's
Mm.
something where this is a choice for them, which is understandable. I, on the other hand, and I dealt with this working in that industry where I'd come across for myself as a heavier set male and also working with heavier set females where you didn't have a choice in certain
Right.
things. There wasn't clothing made for you because you weren't taken into account. If you bought bikes, you bought a motorcycle. That's fine, but the gear had to be sexy. The gear had to be appealing, and and I can understand statistically, slimmer set people were more likely to ride motorcycles. I get that, but that's not the entire truth. And meanwhile,
True.
you have people that are of my similar figure living in this reality that doesn't include me.
Mm. Right.
So a big part of my fitness journey was about understanding that like I can't. It's difficult to fight that, but I can get into shape myself because I love motorcycling that much. Where
Right.
I can work out and get into a better shape to fit into that mold. And a part of me, as I was going on across that journey, um, it I don't want to say that I started to reject it, but I will say it's something where I started to understand in myself like I couldn't just work. I couldn't just be working out to fit into a mold. I had to find out other reasons why I wanted to work out,
Right.
at least to be able to sustain this lifestyle.
Right. Okay. But just trying to circle back to it,
Yeah.
how would you say that that ties in into what your brand signifies?
Oh, absolutely. Well, my brand essentially it's about the finding your tools of expression, and with me here, it is both in my life. It is my both my physical journey, my fitness journey, and in my fitness journey, I find the joy in growing older and finding tools to express myself. And in my life, it has been both motorcycling, body positivity, fitness, menswear, and wellness. It's the whole holistic circle of it all. Like I love
Mm.
motorcycling, but I understand that there's a mold that I'm not necessarily trying to fit, but I want to be safe with motorcycling. That's the reality. But
Right.
also with that, motorcycling allows me to be the bravest version of myself. Poetry allows me to both be the most creative version of myself.
Okay.
Exercising allows me to, with all those negative thoughts, express all that frustration into the world.
Okay.
But then menswear is my outward expression of myself and how I project it onto the world.
Mm.
If
Okay.
I feel elegant, I want the world to see me as elegant. It's not just a out of vanity. It's just I feel this way, and how I feel will be projected onto the world.
You know, that's funny you say that because in a previous interview I did on another channel, I talked about my wearing sunglasses.
Uh huh.
How like sometimes like I just like to wear sunglasses because I feel dope, and like I see how like that makes other people feel uncomfortable when I wear sunglasses and shit. And I just be like, yo, I don't understand. It has nothing to do with you. I wear them because I feel dope in it, and I
Oh,
don't care how anyone else feels.
oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
something I forget why I might be misquoting this, but people, and it's not to say, it's not to be speaking ill of people that I don't know, but people
Right.
are feel some kind of way about people that aren't afraid to shine. And that's
Mm.
the thing.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's the thing. That's not your fault, but also you can't be held back by that. You know.
Right. You got to be you, no matter what it is.
Hmm. Absolutely, and especially like within men. And I find this to be true in my life as I've gone on this journey, um, dealing with toxic masculinity in this sense where even as a bigger man, I have had to deal with that in myself and that in other men, even dealing with the even dealing with that in women and how they react to masculinity and the toxicity of
Right.
it. And it's just an
Right.
interesting thing where like um, I had this great conversation with a friend of mine, talking about clothing, talking about outer expression of yourself onto the world, and talking about how at least I feel every man, if you're wearing formal dress wear or just dress wear if you're going to work, whatever, should have a good pair of burgundy dress shoes to complement your black shoes. And then the immediate reaction would be, I would never wear red shoes. And like, and it's not red like in a bright clown red. It's a deep, like almost like blood color red that complement your black shoes. And then in conversating with this person, it's something where, and it's not their fault. It's just sometimes most men are used to the standardized masculine colors of black, blue, and gray.
Right.
Those are signifiers of masculine colors. But when you talk about throwing purple into the mix, throwing pink into the mix,
Mm.
shades of red, most men feel uncomfortable about it.
I
You
would
know,
say that that's kind of changing though, because I see a lot of different colors being used today that weren't used when we were growing up. You know,
absolutely.
like because back in the day, cats weren't wearing pink. Like, well, I guess Cameron made that popular, but
Mm.
not everybody was wearing like rainbow stuff. You know.
Hmm. And my thing is, it's like there's a lot of factors why I would wear or wouldn't wear certain colors. You know what I mean?
Right.
One, skin tone, your actual preference, and also if you don't like a color, don't like a color you don't wear a color you don't like. That's perfectly fine. But have
Right.
justifiable reasons why you don't wear stuff other than I don't like the way it looks on me. You know, it's something where like try it, check it out. You may be surprised because a lot of things are preconceived notions that you might have gathered from other people, not even yourself. You
Right.
know, so that I find that interesting in terms of talking about toxic masculinity.
I mean, I get what you're saying, and I rock with that, man. Um, yeah, I mean, because a lot of times I would agree that it's the toxic masculinity that makes it difficult for dudes to try different things. So because it's a trap. It
Hmm.
traps you into being one certain kind of thing when um, maybe you don't even know. Maybe you like that other thing, and because of this like mindset, you don't even try it.
Yeah, you don't try it exactly. Like the same reason why um, and I find it this kind of happens too sometimes even in motorcycling to some extent where um the conversation about the biggest spike or the smallest spike or whatever,
Right.
meaning in context of power or side of the engine. And it's interesting. And I find this to be true. I don't want to say that I'm speaking for every motorcyclist, but I will say this is true in my life and in conversation with other older motorcyclists. You
Yeah.
start off, you start off in your motorcycle journey thinking about your first bike, and you accept that it's going to be a smaller displacement, like a 100 cc, 200 cc, 400 cc motorcycle,
Right.
and then you expect like a middleweight bike would be about like a 600, a 500, 700, whatever, and then you work your way up to the big baller, like 1000 cc plus, right? And then you come to realize how good of a biker am I? Because most
Right.
bikers I either can really have the space and had the experience to really ride the 1000 cc motorcycles, or they don't.
Hmm.
Most bikers will find as they get older and they mature in their motorcycling that a 600 cc, a 700 cc, an 800 cc motorcycle is perfectly fine. It's perfectly suitable because you can use the full power of that motorcycle.
Mm.
And then that's where I'm talking about this is the middle age motorcyclists, right? And then you go into where you start going from the biggest motorcyclist down to the smallest motorcycle. Where I don't buy like let's say I don't own a 400 cc motorcycle, but I admit they're very fun. They're super fun to ride because like
Yeah. Yeah.
they're quick, they're lightweight, they buzz around. but it's something where like it's a gradual thing where at first it's a big giant pissing contest until it's not, until you learn better.
Right, then you just ride whatever the fuck you want.
And you just try whatever the fuck you want. Exactly that.
Yeah, I get that. But
Mm,
okay, I want to keep things moving a little bit.
sure.
I want to move to the set to the next segment of the show called the quote of the day.
Hmm.
And today's quote of the day comes from American actor, playwright, producer, and screenwriter Lawrence Fishburne. And he says, on a motorcycle, you can't really think about more than where you are. There's a freedom that comes with that, from stress, freedom from worry, and a freedom from sweating the small stuff. What does that quote say to you?
Ah, that's interesting. Um, yeah, I couldn't agree more because you know, my sometimes my friends ask me that why haven't I written any poems about motorcycling, and it simply has to do with when I'm on a bike, it's so visceral. I'm in the moment. I'm experiencing the moment. Um, you know, the rush of the moment is it itself is almost not to sound corny or anything. It is almost a poetic. It is of a poetic nature in motion, where like I'm experiencing my feelings in vivid real time versus reflecting and writing about them.
Hmm.
You know, but also too there is this nature of having to be in the moment to order to react to things apart from enjoying the moment.
Hmm.
um you know, so I agree with that 100% where like your motorcycling is so much about being in the moment, um that it's difficult to write about afterwards.
Hmm. That makes sense to me. I mean, that always been part of what like appeals to the idea of riding motorcycles to me, you know, because I can only imagine that. I've never ridden a motorcycle before,
Mm.
but I can only imagine that that's what it's like. Is like that sense of freedom has to be the allure.
It's the allure. It's the closest to flying that you ever do on two wheels. But also too, again, it's like it. I would align it with that feeling when you're a child on your own on a bicycle.
Mm,
The level of freedom, the feeling of pivoting your weight over to turn the bicycle instead of turning the actual steering wheel. You
yeah,
know, the shifting of weight, the pedaling harder in the middle of a turn, because you can feel that rush of that burst of power. Um,
mm,
Now let's throw an engine between your legs, and then now let's throw like pavement. Let's throw woods. Let's throw a car riding alongside you in the middle of the turn. I
that
like.
sounds fucking scary,
Well,
dude.
that's the thing. It is.
Yeah,
It is. It absolutely is. But it's something where again
yeah.
I go back to telling you where motorcyclists embrace a level of danger that some people don't get. I mean, this is where I understand myself why some people don't understand skydiving, where some people
Mm,
don't understand scuba diving or
right,
understand bungee jumping. You learn to embrace a level of danger that other people that haven't done it don't know how to do.
right. They're not comfortable with it. I remember
Yeah.
one time you said to me, I'm paraphrasing here. You said something along the lines of like, every time I ride, I kiss death on the forehead.
Yeah, because it's the truth. Like it's something where like um I'm never afraid, and not to say that I'm never afraid. I've embraced a level of danger. I never go beyond a level of risk that I'm comfortable with, but that risk
Right.
is never not present. It's something that's there at a constant, and I'm always vigilant of, but I don't shy away from either.
Right. But I would argue that that's like like using the metaphor that Brene Brown speaks on about getting into the arena. I
Yeah,
I I kind of feel like that's what it's like also, or must feel like, because when you're in the arena, you can't focus on anything else. Because if you do, if you focus on anything else than what's in the moment, you are gonna get knocked in the fucking mouth.
absolutely.
Because,
You're absolutely right. Like I just think of it like, and I'll translate it back into this, where Think of any moment that you were terrified of moving forward with anything.
Mm.
And then how many times that moment in time where you have to make a decision whether you're going to go into this and you might fail, or you back off and reassess the situation and try to come back to it later, maybe never get back to it at all.
Yeah, but I
And
guess like in the motorcycle, you can't always go back. Sometimes you gotta commit, or else you
I,
are gonna like wipe
it,
out.
it's either you commit or you don't do it.
Right.
It's black or white. It's either you commit or you don't do it. There's none of this
Right.
middle ground muttering, and I think that's really is a way of looking at risk, a way of looking at life. That there's no I can try. There's either I did or I didn't.
Right.
And that's something where like I found in motorcycling, even in other activities where like you are afraid of something. There
Hmm.
have been times where I've been on an open mic setting at a poetry open mic, and I was terrified just
Right.
because you hear an amazing poet that came up before you, an amazing poet that was highlighted that night, and now here you are with your little book of poems.
Yeah.
And it's not like it was a competition or anything, and it's not like there's such thing as a bad poem, but there's always such thing as a better poem.
Right.
And here you are with your writing that for better or for worse, you put yourself into displaying your work into the world, and for a response that takes guts.
Yes, it does.
That
Yeah.
takes guts. That's no different than you're at a boardroom meeting and you have a presentation to do in front of your bosses, and your boss's bosses is a potential client, and now you need to deliver.
Uh,
That's no different that you're a brand new business person, that you're about to launch your own business, and you have no idea how this is going to go. But you've already made the investments. You already bought the merchandise. You're in, whether you're in it or whether you like it or not. You're in. You have to see this through.
you gotta hit the gas, go all the way. Stop.
Yeah,
No pussyfooting.
yeah. Because you know what? There's no because it either you do or you don't. Because if you're staying in the middle of being neutral and not trying to second guess yourself, but being lost in the second guessing of yourself, you will always fail.
Yeah,
If you
I
don't
agree with that wholeheartedly. Actually. Yeah.
Like if you second guess, you will fail. If you don't do, you didn't do anything.
Mm.
You know, you didn't. There's no commitment. But if you,
Mm.
you second guess, you second guess yourself, you'll fail. If you follow through, you still may fail, but it's still better than muddling through it.
But then also too, I'll make the argument that failure is okay. That's what we learn. I
Absolutely.
mean, you know how they say, fail often, fail. Was it fail often, fail forward? I forget, but you know what I mean. Like it basically say
Yeah.
you can learn from failure.
Absolutely. I think it's something to be said. I like when I'm afraid of something, when I'm trying to do something, even with starting fisticuffs, I like to lean into my fears
Right.
just a little bit because I'm still terrified. But I like to lean into them because you know what? Leaning in is better than leaning back.
Mm, mm. Hold
Yeah.
on a second. I just my producer's giving me the right information. What is it? Oh, fail early, fail often, and fail forward.
Ah.
All right, so I want to keep things moving a little bit. Let's go into
Yeah.
the topics of the day.
Hmm.
Um, I want to talk about the the motorcycle culture that you're a part of that exists within that New Jersey, New York area.
Okay.
If you could speak on that, like how did you get into it, and then where has it taken you? What have you seen?
Well, I was very fortunate enough that almost immediately after getting my motorcycle license, I happened to get a job working on a motorcycle website selling motorcycle apparel, like working through there. and got to meet a lot of interesting, fun people in the industry. Got to learn a lot about the products, and also got to learn a lot about the community as a whole. And understanding that in that community is not one dimensional at all. I would encounter people that locally lived in New Jersey, people
Right.
that commuted from New York, back and forth New York, New Jersey, as well as internationally. And that's where something where like communally, motorcycling is like soccer. It's everywhere. Like
Okay.
it's
That makes
absolutely
sense.
everywhere. Like I would meet
Yeah.
clients from Brazil, and then I speak Spanish, right? But I don't speak a lick of Portuguese. But we'll find a way to communicate and try to get the gear, but also share that same enthusiasm in my broken Portuguese and their, and we'll somehow find a way to connect with one another. But this person would be a very well off, or might just be here visiting, and like they're from like the slums of Brazil. You know what I mean? But it's
Right.
something where like
Right.
motorcycling as a culture, it's everywhere. And in New York and in New Jersey, it's a different thing. Where New Jersey is kind of we have all the back roads up here, very very close
Right.
to us. In New York City, particularly Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx, it's like traveling from different boroughs. There's different crews. There's different cliques. It really is more similar if you've ever seen like the Warriors, in a sense, but without any of the drama.
Right. But see, that's actually what I wanted to talk about, though. There's parts of like, because when you see motorcycles and on TV, right, the representation of the motorcycle like communities and cultures,
uh-huh.
um, you really don't see it the way that I've learned to know that it actually is. From what I've learned from you,
Uh-huh.
I feel like most people don't make the connection between motorcycle cultures and urban culture. There's some separation. You know what I mean? And what I've learned through you is that the motorcycle culture in the New York, New Jersey area is super diverse. From hood cats to like stockbrokers,
Absolutely.
all like in the same cruise, like not even in separate crews. Like if you could speak on that.
Absolutely. Like, I would find crews and I would meet people in motorcycling that were, that you would never know were incarcerated. That you would never know were incarcerated and are now in the process of really changing their lives and stuff. And it just so happened to, before that incident had happened, they're out here
Yeah.
riding motorcycles. I also have encountered people that, that are riding in these same crews with people that are a part of law enforcement, a part of the teachers unions,
Yeah.
that are bartenders, that owners of barbershops, that are barbers themselves,
Yeah.
you know, DJs, and it's something where it's funny through motorcycling, people find other things to find cool in each other, to find intriguing about one another.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you ride bikes, that's dope. What else do you do? And like,
Yeah.
oh, that other thing they do is amazing. What else do you do? I'm a
Yeah.
musician. I'm playing here tonight. I got a show here tonight. Once you bring your friends, and like, and then people roll up with like 20, 30 bikes to go see a show, and support, and vice versa. It is something. It's a community where, like, if you speak up in the motorcycling community that this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm about, and people mess with you, they support for the most part. Because
Yeah.
like it just, it's something where I find in motorcycling, and just in general, friends and businesses support each other by showing up for one another, by
Right.
supporting each other with money instead of just saying that I support you in passing words. And it's
Right.
something.
Right. Just put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah,
Right.
like for example, I know there's plenty of people here, like actually the couple people that are on the join this here right now, where I've ridden with them, you know, I've I've gotten to know them, and they got a business. I'm going to support your business not just because I know you, but because you're in my community and I want to see you do well in my community.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know, it's just something where like you, and in return, if I'm doing well, I hope you see me as part of your community, and that's how we pay it forward to one another.
Mm.
'Cause that's how we're a
You
part of
know,
this community.
and ultimately, I think there's nothing more urban culture than that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like helping, giving back to the community, and helping each other grow.
Absolutely. You absolutely like every year. There's actually a really cool thing. There's a really cool, really fun, very uh, provident repair shop and custom shop out in the Bronx. That every year they do toys for tots for children.
Mm.
And I'd say you always have a block party here for motorcycles, cars, all customized and everything every year. And it's amazing to me how we're like, you know, in some social settings, these people are seen as hooligans.
Mm.
The unwanteds of the community. But here they are fundraising and collecting funds for children that don't that are underprivileged and such.
Misunderstood. Yeah, I mean, but I think yeah, that I think that shit happens. It's unfortunate, but you know what I'm saying. But the cool shit about it is right.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, they're misunderstood. Yeah, they maybe looked at it like that, but you know they still do them and they still do give back to the community. That's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying. That's like that's usually, well, I'm not gonna say usually, but that's like supreme urban culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
because even
fuck what
because
everybody says, still do me, and I'm gonna give back because that's the right thing to do.
yeah, because we still got to take care of our own.
That's exactly right.
We still got to
Yeah.
take care of our own. And also there's the willingness to do these things, and because I think it's something where in motorcycling, it's something like I'm always faced with the reality that that death is real. Death is very real. Where I've lost a number of people that I've known in motorcycling, but it's something where like it's made me more aware of the good that I want to leave behind, more aware of the good that I want to do while I'm able to do it.
Right.
Um, and it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could just be something little, but when I think sometimes I feel pressed to do good things or feel good to um, do something worthwhile in this community. And it can be something as simple as passing the word along about a friend's business or passing the word along about an event my friend's holding or someone that I know, or I see somebody that really does represent the community in a very cool way, that are doing real fun stuff. Fun stuff is fun, and everybody wants to be a part of that.
Right. Okay. Just because I'm getting a little pressed for time here.
Uh huh.
Uh, so just to keep it moving, I want to know. I want to also touch on for the topics is, what does body positivity mean to you, and what are your thoughts about physical health in conjunction with mental health?
Um, I think they're all interconnected in the sense of where I mean it sounds pretty obvious to me, but it's something where I think it ultimately starts with mostly giving a fuck about you and not giving a fuck about anyone else. In a sense, and I'm going to be quite blank, and it's simply because in my life, in working out, and it's something where, and again, I don't mean so much with this here, but working out and as frequently as I do, I work out now. Just to give you an insight, I work out anywhere between 4 to 5 days a week on a regular
Hmm.
basis. And it's always interesting when I post anything about my workouts, so there are on my Instagram, how many people want to either slide into my DMs and want to talk to me about, are you happy with your results or are you happy with your progress? And then all the while I'm thinking my workout experience, my fitness journey isn't about necessarily my results. It makes me feel good.
Right.
Like it exercises demons in my mind and in my soul that I can't express through motorcycling,
Right.
you
Okay.
know, and it's something where the wellness comes into play because, especially being a heavier set person, everybody has an opinion about something or anything that you do.
Right. Everybody was an expert.
Everybody's an expert. Everybody has 2 cents to give. I tell you, if I had $1 for every opinion, I'd be pretty well off right now. And it's something where it's I've learned you can't. There are people that have intentions, have good intentions, are people that have misguided, that are misguided and don't know how to present their positions to you. And I find that if you're a person with a with a weaker soul or a weaker spirit, that can be very easily discouraging. And that's where I find that it's whether you're one way or the other, it's much easier to say I love myself and to fuck everyone else and just keep pushing through. And the people that are genuinely there for you, they'll shine through that the muck of all thatness.
Right.
Um,
That reminds me. There's something you had said to me a couple years ago. Actually, no, like a couple months ago, maybe,
mhm,
or maybe a year ago.
mhm.
Um, you said that there was a bully culture disguised as kindness.
Yes,
If you could speak on that.
yes, it's the same person. It, either I find that people say that they want to support you just to hide, just to hide the reality that they want to see you when you fall. They want to be
Mm,
there. They want to be present. They want to be in the room. And that's something where it's rough because it can be the side of that. And just like for me, at least when I noticed it in my life was when I started working out, people that were adamant about joining me on working out, you
yeah.
know, at the very beginning. Then all of a sudden I'm working out every day. I'm working out every day. Then one day that I don't work out, really come down on me really hard for the one day that I don't work out.
Right. But where were
Me,
you the other days?
where were you the other days?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you gonna like? It's something where like it's this false sense of commitment to you that isn't real.
Right, because they don't really give a fuck. They care because they feel good about pretending to care, and it's really just to be there when you fuck up, so that they can give you shit.
All this guys in sounding very nice about it.
Yeah. See, I would argue that that's like that unconscious shaming language that Brene Brown talks about. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That it's inherent in the programming.
Hmm.
Well, sometimes these people don't even know that they do it.
Hmm.
That they speak in shaming language because that's how they get spoken to.
Hmm.
It's how they were raised, and their
Yeah,
parents spoke to them in that way, and so that's how they do to other people.
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I think the only way to break through that is to see it for what it is, and truly, like you said, I mean, uh, you gotta like I love me more than
Whatever
what
you,
you think of me. So
yeah.
you know what I'm saying. Like, and you really, I think it becomes like a fight. You gotta like
Mm.
fight to say it and like hold on to it. I love me more than what you think of me, and I love me and fuck you.
You know what's truth with that though? What's truth to that? At least I found in my life. The moment you start saying that and you affirm this in your life and you start people take notice.
Mm,
People take notice. You don't have to say anything. People take notice. And people want to be a part of what you're doing because it's the same thing where you're shining and they want to shine with you. Some people are afraid to shine like you are. And those are the haters. You're going to bump into them all the time. But it's
yeah,
something where you have to be you in spite of them. And you
right.
have to keep on moving forward in spite of them because what you do, I've always said to myself, whether I see the results that I want today, a year from now, 10 years from now, my journey's long, and I'm okay with that.
Right,
I'm
because you're
perfect.
living your life. You're not living nobody else's.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. You
Okay.
know. But to say that I don't go to sleep and I don't wake up and put the effort in, that's not true. You know, and if and also you're not here. You also don't care to be here, and that's fine too. Let's stop pretending. And let's stop pretending
Right.
nights about these things. I
Yeah.
like, and let's put a pin on this here. I mean, unless you want to talk about this in more detail, but I think if anything, the only advice I really hear and I really pay attention to, I work with a trainer. The only person I bounce off ideas of just because, one, I'm paying them, and
Right,
one, I'm
right.
paying them, but two, I know apart from that I'm paying for them, we're friends to some extent, or at least we get along very well. But there is invested interest because, you work for someone for a period of time. You want to see them pull through. You see them put in the effort in. You want to see them pull through. I think that's human nature, not human nature in that, and I think that's only people you should be getting advice from.
Right. People who are in the ring with you.
Yes.
I love that actually. Okay. Let's get into the men's fashion side of things. Who are your style icons? Why? And what does it mean to be a non-toxic man in today's world?
Okay. So, all right, let's start with the fact one. My Uh, you're gonna get forget on the phone with this. So my patron saint of fashion
Hmm.
will be Tom Ford. Um,
Hmm.
and simply, for me, I just love his aesthetic approach. It's very methodical approach to fashion, particularly men's fashion. Although there are certain things I don't necessarily agree with him on, but in terms of the thought process, the combination of textures and feels and impression of the occasion for being dressed, um, the particular cuts, and not just that he uses exact cuts. It's more so why you're using certain cuts and when you're using these cuts, and what
Hmm.
cuts work well with body types and skin tones. He is someone that's been hugely influential as to how I approach uh, men's clothing, dressing myself and dressing other people.
Hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then, how about that second part? What does it mean to be a non-toxic man in today's world?
I think for me, toxic masculinity stems um, from very old ghosts in my view. So I
Hmm.
think it means deprogramming yourself and taking the good from what it is to be a masculine person and just killing all of the bad. And what is all of the bad? And to be specific, toxic masculinity does not have to be at the cost of anyone else. Does not have to be at the cost of someone that is weaker. Does not have to be at the cost of someone that is stronger. Does not
You
even have
mean?
to be
I think you mean masculinity doesn't have to come at
masculinity.
the cost.
Masculinity does not have to be at the cost of anyone else. It doesn't have
Right.
to be
Okay.
at the cost of women. It doesn't have to be at the cost of weaker people. It doesn't have to be a competition amongst other men. Um, it 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 has to be more of a question of self. You know, and I think that is where toxic masculinity is where it finds its issues in. It's always it only exists at the cost of someone else.
Mm.
You know,
Right.
as
Like it only exists when it's like putting someone down, subjugating somebody.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But then, like again, in the beginning of the show, I introduced a new term called nutric.
Hmm.
Nutric is say that a nutric personality is a person who fosters support and helps to develop people.
Hmm.
and it's saying that nutric can be a form of masculinity. To
That's
be a
interesting.
nutric masculine, like was a term nutric
Mhm.
masculinity.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there. I gotta look into that myself. Perfect. That sounds interesting. I find, and particularly in men, that there. What I mean by deprogramming here is that most men take what they learn from the men around them,
Hmm.
learn what they take from their fathers, and just take what they learn and run with it. And I think in order to change that, and I think that this also takes very deep, long conversations with both men and women about how we interact with each other in a patriarchal society where, you know, young boys need to figure out how do I take what I've learned and make it my own.
Mm.
How do I
Right.
how do I break this apart and make it my own? Like for example, like in motorcycling, for example, there's a large amount of masculinity, especially towards women in motorcycling. And it's something where like if you ever follow me on social media, I don't post anything that's of a subjugation nature towards women in motorcycling. Women get it enough in motorcycling.
Right.
But at the same time too, I've met plenty of women that outride most guys.
Right.
So I'm like, it's something where it's like, is this bravado that comes from toxic masculinity that doesn't need to exist, doesn't have a place in today's society because we're all people that suffer, we're all people that are badasses in our own right, and
Right.
we should all be able to place to accept and celebrate one another.
I agree. But okay, my brother, just because I'm getting accused right now from my producer with the time, um, I want to run real quick into the random questions section
Okay.
of the show, and I wanted to ask you the bodega question.
Hmm.
As the bodega and the corner store being a staple in urban culture, growing up, what was your go-to item every time you went in?
uh, Drake lemon cookies,
Okay.
uh, and also $1 worth of 25-cent drinks.
Yeah, no backwoods, you motherfucker.
No, I mean I'd get two reds and two blues. No water
Okay.
because we were little kids. What we drank was juicy juice.
Okay, I got you. So moving in quick, just keep in mind with time. I want to
Okay.
go into the growing up urban culture.
Hmm.
What would you consider to be the good, the bad, the ugly, and the most inspiring part about growing up in urban culture?
The most inspiring, I I say the most inspiring and the good is that um, there comes a point in people that growing up in urban culture, you can't tell me I can't do nothing.
Mm, facts.
Like I think there's a mentality where like I've already been through the shits. I can go through anything else. You
Right,
know.
right.
Now I think the ugly is sometimes that particular energy takes goes in a negative way. We go um, into a lifestyle that maybe we shouldn't be all going into. But still, it all stems from that energy. We've been through the shit. You can't tell me I can't do something.
Right.
And I think with that energy, um, I'm more accepting of struggle than anything else. I'm comfortable with struggle. I'd like to be more comfortable with success, but struggle, I'm comfortable with struggle and perseverance. I'm not shaken by that at all. And I think
Mm,
that's something that's true of people in urban culture.
I love that. Okay. Um, in the spirit of keeping up with the time right now,
Hmm.
um, if you could summarize urban culture in one word, what would it be and why?
Defiance. And
Why?
Um, it is it is often counted out. It is often maybe cast aside, and corporations often make money off of it, where people that live in it don't. And yet, you know, yet people persevere, yet people succeed, and also people become extremely successful in it.
Mm.
Just for the sheer will of like you just in the sheer will of existing and knowing that they can exist and knowing that I don't know about knowing this, but I take this struggling is proof that you're alive. And I
Mm.
think while I'm struggling, I'm striving, and if I'm striving, I'm still alive.
And you still got a chance to do something else tomorrow.
Absolutely.
I fucking love that. But all right, man. So tell the people where they can find you.
Well, again, you can find me at on Instagram at fists. That's FISTS underscore two underscore cuffs. That's CUFFS. You can also find me on our website. Should be launching soon at www.fisticuffs.com. You can also find me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/fisticuffs.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yo, thank you for coming on to the show, my brother. It was really cool having you on. Able to talk about all the things that we did and
Mm-hmm.
just have a moment with you on on a forum like this.
Cool.
Um,
Thank you.
all right, man. So that's the show, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll be back. Um, what is the date? When we'll be back? Shit, I don't even know. Hold on. We'll be back on February 25th. Remember, that's every other Thursday, live on Instagram, and then catch the replay every other Monday on YouTube and on Spotify. If you check us on YouTube right now, on the Urban Innovator YouTube, and on Spotify, if you search the Verbatim Live Show, you'll find us there on the podcast. And that's it. Every other Thursday, live on Instagram, and then every other Monday on YouTube and on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. Right? This is Alex Over, Urban Innovator. Shout out to Abe with Fisticuffs. All right? And that's a wrap. You guys have a good night.
All right. You have a good night.